Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the weekly show with Aditya. A half an hour show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday in association with Dusra.net, the number one website. Welcome to a special season premiere of the weekly show with Aditya, episode number 120 on the 4th of October 2019. How does one understand the word legend, a term so vague and oddly defined as to who constitutes a legend? Is it the experience? Is it the hype created around this person or persons? The time spent by this person in a particular profession? It's difficult to come to one certain point. The idea of who is a legend, what is a legend, is absolutely subjective for an individual. And when we have influencers like the media, even their subjective assessment of an individual or of an artificial thing can affect the definition or who constitutes or what constitutes a legend. Let's take the example of this India South Africa tournament. The tournament is named after two individuals in the respective countries who shaped and influenced the idea of what is freedom, and their ideologies also affected the way we look at them and the way their respective methodologies shaped the way for the idea and ideology of freedom in the respective countries. So, the way humans are shaped, we give them monikers like father of the nation and other such endearing term, and so on and so forth. With such a background, this particular tournament takes an interesting turn. Are we rigid about who we defined as a legend? That depends on our flexible nature. Let's go deep into this discussion. For example, in the current South African team, the likes of Hashim Amla and AB de Villiers, one who influenced and shaped the team's prospects, are no longer part of the team because they are retired. So, by design and default, we immediately label the team as a team in transition. This can be looked at in a couple of ways. One is that a few senior players have retired. They have done their job over the past 10 to 15 years, and it's now time to hand over the baton to the new players. On the other hand, it can be insulting for the new players because the individuals who retired, we have not got over them because they played for over 15 years. They had a specific influence on the entire sport. So, for us, when these individuals retired and when the new individuals started coming in, it was difficult for us to accept the newer ones, as is the case in every team in every sport. So, we automatically label them as underdogs, not favorites, weak team, etc. etc. I disagree with this term, a team in transition. Our fixation with certain players don't allow us to move on and accept newer players, and this happens especially in cricket. In fact, this happens a lot in cricket, despite the fact that South Africa has new all-rounders who are skilled in their own way. Yet the fact that we are so fixated with a certain Jack Scalise who played for over 20 years that we cannot accept new individuals because this individual set a benchmark. So you say an all-rounder in South Africa, you say Jack Callis. You say Jack Callis, you say all-rounder. Why? Because he played for over 15 years. He picked up over 350 wickets. He played over 170 matches. So the influence he had on the team was to such an extent that we cannot get over him and won't accept the fact that he never failed. Though even the term failure is relative. It's a similar case with the likes of Dale Steyn, Hashim Amla, AB de Villiers, who spent such a vast majority of time playing, and they played consistently that we cannot look beyond them, even though we have individuals in Temba Bavuma, Kagiso Rabada, and few others. And with such a narrow mindset, the definition of legend even waters down. And when we are confused as to who is the greater batter of a certain generation, or we are just for the sake of having fun comparing two sports person in the same sport of two different generations, though even the term generation is relative, but since we are rigid, we compare the likes of Virat Kohli and Sachin Tendulkar, or we compare contemporaries like Virat Kohli, Steve Smith, Kane Williamson, Joe Root. So we single out one player from each team to be given the moniker of legend. How we do it is completely subjective. It could be a similar case in badminton. Now we have two contemporaries in Saina Nehwal and PV Sindhu. Though the weightage towards Sindhu is more than Nehwal, and in the men's division we have Parupali Kashyap, Kidambi Srikanth, Sai Praneeth, but we do not give any of them. We have not given any of them so far the status of a legend, though they have played for generations. In chess, we do not know anyone beyond Vishwanathan Anand, though we have a few grandmasters coming up. But if you ask who is a chess legend, especially in India, the term Vishwanathan Anand will come because of the time period he has played. And maybe 50 years from now, when we will have a new 50-year-old, then we may move beyond a Vishwanathan Anand. But till then, we will always call Vishwanathan Anand a chess legend. Though we have from other countries Bobby Fischer, Gary Kasparov, but those are from other countries. In hockey, it's the same situation. Though we have great players in the team right now, Dhyan Chand will always become the first name on our minds. Yes, he will. By default, by design, by the time he has spent, by the publicity and the promotion given, by the fact that his birthday is now labeled as the National Sports Day, and then the contemporary times don't allow us to name someone as legend, means the like of Rupinder Pal Singh, Manpreet Singh, we will hesitate to give them the status of legends. Yes, they are still active players, but they can obviously be inducted in the Hall of Fame. But even this assessment is subjective. The fact that we give individuals the status of legends or even immortals shows our feeble mind, and the fact that humans have to, as humans are designed, to pray to someone. It could be an immortal, it could be from mythology, or it could be a living person, just the way we give such ridiculous monikers such as God to Sachin Tendulkar. It has become an accepted term which, as gullible as the human mind is, we accept without questioning, and those who question, we would have stared them to death. Such is the veneration we have for a particular individual. The only individual, according to some fanatics, who would counter Sachin Tendulkar as the god or as a great cricketer in the last 15 to 20 years, the one who could give a close run for the term or the veneration of God at this point in time would be MS Dhoni. Though I don't accept such monikers, but if a majority does the same, then we have to accept the same. the Rohit Sharma gamble paid off, at least for now. So when they decided that we don't have too many openers or we want to end the career of good capable batters like KL Rahul and for now Prithvi Shaw, they gave the chance to Rohit Sharma, and the debate about will he emulate Virender Sehwag or will he adjust to this red ball white ball difference or will he compartmentalize in his head such a difference. Well, did it work? It worked at least for one match. Though the question will be, he played on flattish Indian tracks where the ball does not move, there is no swing, there is no seam, there is no bounce, it's a dead wicket, so he can make runs. Will he emulate this in those conditions where there is swing, there is seam movement like Australia, England, New Zealand, South Africa? Will he be able to get adjusted to those kind of conditions? Well, when that will happen, we will see. For now, this gamble worked. He made those 176 runs and had a good partnership with Mayank Agarwal, who for now might have sealed his position in the team unless he flops badly over the next couple of matches. He is your designated opener, but who will be his partner? We have Rahul, we have Prithvi Shaw, we have Rohit Sharma, so a lot of options for the team management to decide. But for now, they will stick to Rohit Sharma as looks to be the case. While the Rohit Sharma gamble paid off, the gamble of including Saha over Pant, because Pant was not contributing as a batter, and the fact that Saha has been labelled by the captain itself as a great keeper in terms of technique, this decision might hurt them in the times to come. This Saha decision is a step back instead of moving forward beyond such individuals who may have done the job, and we may be influenced by what is a classical keeper and whether he is good in these conditions. Pant is the future, and despite Pant's transgression in terms of not making runs, he still is the optimum choice. But since they were opening with Rohit Sharma, they already had an aggressive batter at the top. So to neutralize this effect, they chose Saha because we know Saha will not make those mistakes. He will not be careless. But if quick runs are required, he is not the ideal person as well. So this inefficient team selection in terms of Saha over Pant, though Saha has been endorsed by the media and the bits and pieces experts alike, this is a decision that will go on to haunt them, just as we were endorsing and getting wow wow over Saha. He drops a catch. One of the reasons we chose Saha over Pant was over the keeping skills, and right now he drops a catch. But he is pardoned. There won't be any debate over his catch being dropped. But if this was Pant, the entire team would be giving him a death stare. Even the graphics won't mention that Saha dropped a catch. Why? Because he would be pardoned, because this is not his natural way to drop catches. But as I said, if this was Pant, we would have given him a rap on the knuckles, a lecture. Why did you do it? His technique was wrong. He was not bending low, and etc. and etc. So this hypocrisy over who is a better keeper in terms of batting and in terms of technique continues, and we will never know the same. In terms of transgression by Saha, for me this is his second strike. Yesterday, in his propensity to score extra runs, he got out playing a rash shot, but this will not be called a rash shot. But if that was Pant, well, Pant is not here right now, but in the past situations, if this was Pant and he had played a shot like that, you would have again questioned his temperament. Why is he doing it? Why can't he play it safe? And when Saha does the same, he drops the catch, he plays a rash shot, we pardon him. I abhor such double standards and such hypocrisy. But this will be a water under the bridge. So let's end this discussion for now. Kohli's Hobart 133 or Tendulkar's Sharjah 134, which is a greater knock. An emotional person, the fact that we are sentient beings, we will automatically say that Tendulkar's 134 was a better knock. Why? Because look at the individuals who were in the team. Except for, let's say, Ganguly and to some extent Lakshman, there was nobody in the team who could have pulled this off. A semi logical person would say this happened at a time when there was no 20 overs. So, what Tendulkar did then was special, smashing the ball like one would in a 20 over match. We didn't use these useless nomenclatures like red ball, white ball, modern day cricket, though for me that would be an glaring example. Modern day cricket, flat pitch, and mediocre bowling, small grounds, the influence of white ball cricket, even though T20 was still dormant, even the fact that apart from Tendulkar, nobody else had the talent to pull this off in that team. As I said, apart from Tendulkar, the only one who could have pulled this off was Ganguly, but Ganguly was still a new person in that team while Tendulkar has spent over a decade. Even then, we had a middle order muddle. We were chopping and changing our openers till the time Ganguly arrived, and these two did the job for the next 10 years. In that match, which is relatively greater than Kohli's 133, but we shall debate about it as we go on. In that match, India was supposed to qualify for the finals and get to a particular score. And on the flat, pancake like pitches of Sharjah, which mirrored the flat pancake pitches in the subcontinent like Pakistan, Sri Lanka, India. At that time, there was no Bangladesh playing. Anybody would have scored those runs. Just like in the same way you would analyze Rohit Sharma's knock, which was devoid of a track which had no seam, no bounce, and no exaggerated movement. The same was the case with Tendulkar. From the Australian side, only McGrath was a force to be reckoned with, while the other bowlers were what you call bits and pieces. So while Tendulkar's knock would be great given when it was played, but if we include the nomenclatures that we use now, that is red ball, white ball, flat pitches, small grounds, and such barmy terms we use now, which have become a part of the sporting vocabulary, then his knock would be relegated to being a good knock but nothing special about it. Moving on to the contemporary player in Virat Kohli, his 133 in Hobart. That was 133 of 80 balls. For now, let's forget the strike rate. It was the year 2012. Kohli was still what we call a developing player, though he had spent 4 years in the sport. He had been part of a World Cup winning team, but in the context of who were the others in the team, he was still a new player, what we call a rookie player. And we have to remember the fact that he wasn't opening, he wasn't coming at number 3, and unlike Sharjah, India was not chasing 320, that too with a rider of chasing it in less than 40 overs. Here too they had to qualify for the final, though unfortunately due to some dumb-witted calculations they did not qualify. The opposition teams in this context are immaterial. But 15 years after that 134 from Tendulkar, Kohli's 133 of 80 balls, by this time T20 was penetrating in this sport, so the influence of T20 was seeping in other formats. So we started using terms such as two new balls where there was no swing or seam or bounce, then the rhetorical mention of flat pancake pitches, bigger bats, and after such conservative terminologies added to that certain era, Kohli's knock doesn't even feature in the greats. Even up to some extent, we define Dhoni's emergence as a player by his twin centuries of 183 against Sri Lanka and 148 against Pakistan, though it came on grounds which were, as we would say right now, small. The slow, methodical influence of 20 overs, and it becomes a different thing in its entirety. The difference, India chasing 270 in 45 overs, Tendulkar scored 134, but India needed 320 in less than 40 overs at 8 runs per over, and they scored it in 30 overs. Kohli scored 133. So for me, despite the fanatical presence of a few fans, I will still say that Kohli's 133 outweighs Tendulkar's 134. Those who are still rigid about Tendulkar's 134, please contact me and we shall have a healthy discussion on the same. Enough of cricket, tennis, and badminton. Now let's move on to an off neglected sport. And as for now, there is only one neglected sport or a semi neglected sport, which is none other than hockey. As of now, except cricket, any other sport that you see and its multiple championships, the entire focus is towards qualifying for the Olympics. So we have these Olympic qualifiers. We are aware about the same in boxing, badminton, wrestling, athletics, and other sport, but we have forgotten the fact that there is one more sport where such Olympic qualifiers are taking place, and that is none other than the oft neglected sport hockey. They just played a successful tour in Belgium where they had to garner points so as to be in contention for qualifying for the Olympics directly, but they have to play some qualifying matches. Not only the men, but even the women are playing successfully and they have done well so far. So in this tour, they beat Belgium thrice, they beat Spain twice, they kept a successful 5-0 record. But where was the mention in the media or anywhere in the discussions? Nowhere. Why? Because it was not broadcasted due to whatever reasons, and it was given a tiny snippet in the newspapers, not even a mention, while the entire last page of any newspaper is dedicated to the various football leagues happening around the globe. And this sums up media's cavalier attitude towards this sport. For me, an entire first page should have been dedicated to this, but no, they had to dedicate one small tiny paragraph, and if you're not attentive enough, you will miss it. This cavalier attitude is now an acceptable norm. It's a tradition. It's the way we think about hockey. Why? Because we haven't won a World Cup in over 45 years. We haven't won a gold medal in the Olympics or any of the subsequent tournaments in Commonwealth or Asian Games. So we just put it aside. And for us, such tournaments are not important enough to give an entire page to. We won't mention in the same vein as we do the likes of Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli, the likes of Harmanpreet Singh, Manpreet Singh, Mandeep Singh, Akashdeep Singh, Kotajit Singh, Rupinder Pal Singh, Surinder Kumar, and there are so many talented players in hockey. In 4 weeks from today, the hockey team would be playing a 2-day tournament against Russia. That is, the men's division would play against Russia and the women's division would play against USA, but how many of us know that even in women's sport we mention all sports except hockey? We talk about tennis, we talk about badminton, we talk about the likes of the pakarmakar, we talk about the wrestling greats. Even the cricket team is mentioned. We oblige them by mentioning the women's cricket team. But when it comes to the women's hockey team, except a small snippet, it's nowhere to be found. In subjects such as management and engineering, we talk about cricket as an example of an engineering marvel. Why don't we mention hockey as an example of an engineering marvel? How these players are able to get through the gaps and score goals at such a rapid rate. How these players run with the ball, their momentum taking them. How are they able to balance the ball without any mistake and score a goal? How the goalkeeper in hockey, wearing all those protective pads and gears, is able to view the ball coming towards him and do a full length dive despite so many hindrances. They should become a subject of discussion or even a subject of an individual's PhD. Look at the results in this tournament: 2-0 Belgium, 6-1 Spain, 5-1 Spain again, 2-1 against Belgium, and then yesterday 5-1 against Belgium. Despite the fact that this is not an Olympics or a World Cup tournament, but such performances only give confidence to the players, and we should mention this in large fonts, even dedicating the first page to them, despite the nature of the tournament and its implication on rankings. India are ranked 5 in hockey. I think this ranking is great. The hockey team is more experienced than the entire cricket team put together, and we don't factor in age while talking about it. The fact that someone like Sardar Singh retired at 31 shows how this sport is more challenging than any other sport which goes on for hours and hours. Means hockey at 60 minutes, it is no longer the 70-minute dialogue we saw in a mediocre movie like Chak De India. The fascination towards hockey cannot be derived after watching such a movie. So if the likes of PV Sindhu, Virat Kohli, Saina Nehwal and others are the apple of the nation's eye, why not include the likes of Harmanpreet Singh, the captain himself, in Mandeep Singh, and the great Indian women hockey players? We keep saying Rohit and Kohli. I will not say Rohit and Kohli. I will say Manpreet Singh, Mandeep Singh, Akashdeep Singh, even if a few listeners are baffled by this. Thank you for listening to the season premiere of episode number 120 on the 4th of October 2019. I will be back next week on the 7th of October 2019. Till then, good night and have a great weekend. Please send your valuable suggestions through your comments and audio recording to the email ID adityatherewriter@gmail.com. You can also like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and Facebook page, and stay tuned for the next episode.